13 pioneer medical doctors of the Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University School of Medicine in Anambra State have been offered employment into different health institutions in the state by the governor, Willie Obiano. This was announced during the induction ceremony of the 13 doctors who were part of the 83 students admitted into the institution.
The procession for the induction of the pioneer medical doctors of the Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, Igbariam, owned by the Anambra State government. The management of the university and other dignitaries, including the state governor, Willie Obiano, in full academic regalia. The 13 inductees who have borne the brunt of the prolonged accreditation struggle by the college are also in high spirits. With the university now armed with full accreditation by the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, it's time to take the Hippocratic Oath as administered by the representative of the Registrar of the Council, Dr. Paul Obiegbu.
The health of my patients.
The health of my patients
will be my first consideration.
Will be my first consideration.
On behalf of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, I approve all the full doctors practicing in Nigeria. Welcome. Congratulations.
For the Vice-Chancellor and Provost of the university, the event is a milestone in the history of the institution.
Of all the 140 universities in Nigeria, this university has become now the 29th university to be so accredited to produce doctors.
And the doctors we are releasing today have met all the requirements of well-trained doctors. Many of our medical teachers have had long experiences of training medical students and doctors elsewhere, and we have not cut corners in the training of these doctors.
Governor Obiano wants the doctors to be patient, hardworking and professional in the discharge of their duties. He says the state will do more in the health sector.
My team and I are fully committed to making a difference in Anambra State. In the past 23 months of my administration, we have put in our very best to make an impact where it matters most.
The new doctors express their happiness.
I feel very privileged, I feel very special, I feel like an achiever.
Ogun State Governor Ibukunle Amosun has challenged youths to optimize opportunities being created by state authorities in the agricultural sector. Governor Amosun said this while commissioning the Owowo Model Farm located in Awekoro local government area of the state.
This is Owowo Farm Settlement. It is an initiative of the Ogun State government established for graduates who are willing to make gainful careers in agriculture. 400 young farmers currently occupy the farm center. They engage in small and medium-scale trade as budding entrepreneurs. Farm produce harvested by these young farmers are on display as Governor Ibukunle Amosun notes agriculture remains a viable sector to increase internally generated revenue.
We have people that is almost PhD holders, we have master's degree holders. There's nobody here that is not a graduate. This is what we are saying. Instead of running around going to offices to say you are looking for jobs, now on your own you are there for labor. You are generating money. You are creating wealth. That's the way to go. Indeed, what I want you to do, which you have started, is to take full advantage of what value chain in agriculture offers. All of this, I understand that some people here, they say they are able to smoke in the business already, and they are able to selling. They have people that will be upside down immediately before you even to do. People are keen to say. That is the way to go. We will support you as an adult of that.
Some of the young farmers share their success stories of improved means of livelihood and satisfaction as employers of labor.
I was engaged into this program in 2014 in February. And since I got into this program, I entered into cooperative. The stipend that were being given to us initially, I started going to cooperative. By July, I got loan, started raising my best to replace the one the government gave us. I increased my capacity then to 400 beds. This year again, I've increased my capacity to 528 beds.
Young graduates are encouraged to invest in agriculture, to produce foods, and to have food security in the economy.
Initiatives like this should be embraced and encouraged by public and private investors, especially at a time when the nation seeks to diversify the economy by developing non-oil sectors.
The Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, has promised to ensure that legislations that affect the nation's insurance industry are treated as priority as a way of making the sector contribute meaningfully to the economy. The minister, who spoke at a meeting in Abuja, said that the federal government remains resolute in making the insurance industry impact on the lives of the people.
If you look at any industry that has, any nation that has developed economically, they always have a very strong insurance industry. Wherever you have forced savings, wherever you have a good pool of funds, you will have infrastructure and you will have development. So insurance is absolutely critical. This review is long overdue. However, in the spirit of change, the new economy must be significantly different from the past. The new economy must be well diversified and protected from the destabilizing effects of oil price fluctuations. And we believe we can grow the non-oil sectors of the economy, particularly agriculture, solid minerals and manufacturing. However, we have identified many constraints to growth of these sectors, and they're largely centered around infrastructure and the ease of doing business. And we're therefore proposing investment in our essential infrastructure, including power, housing, road, rail, air transport, as we believe these will have a fiscal multiplier effect on the economy. The spending stimulus to be provided by government investment will kickstart the economy, releasing funds to contractors and other counterparties that will stimulate spending and boost economic activity. Now, insurance as an industry sits as a pivot in our plans. In our funding plans, by providing funding for transactions in both public-private partnership and direct transactions, in providing risk management and providing the support that will actualize our plans to stimulate the economy.
The Minister for Finance, they're still indeed trying to find the best ways to get the economy back on the path to meaningful growth. And I'm now being joined on the News at 10 to take a further look on the Nigerian economy is the Director, Center for Infrastructure Policy, Regulation and Advancement, the Lagos Business School, Dr. Bongoade. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on the News at 10 at this time.
Thank you very much.
What do you consider the most important indices that will suggest to you that the economy is on the path to meaningful growth?
Well, I think the most important index that would suggest that the economy is on a path of meaningful growth would be, I say, our export. What are we exporting? Because the collapse of the oil industry or the oil prices in the last few months has actually highlighted the precariousness of the economy that we run, that is not on a sustainable footing. So the question to ask in the international environment is, what are we exporting? What are we exchanging with other countries of the world, if not oil? So now that oil seems to be suffering, and we don't have a substitute, we don't have an option. So, and that is part of the reason why we are in the mess that we find ourselves now. So we can be said to be on a path of sustainable growth if we improve our exports profile.
How long will that take?
I have no idea, because that's a very long-term strategy. We should have started a long time ago, because we keep hearing of diversification of the economy, but that's all we hear. It's just rhetorics. And it's a long-term process, diversification. And when we talk about diversification, it's all about improving the skills and competency, the ability, the capacity to produce, the productive capacity of essentially the people, human resource. Okay, the other day we were talking about the fourth industrial revolution and what that portends for economies in Africa, including Nigeria. All the disruptive technology that we have today, that's giving a whole lot of competitive advantage to nations, are happening in the universities. They are the fruits of research and development taking place in various universities. So when we're looking into the future belongs to education, to research, to knowledge. It's called a knowledge-led regime of accumulation. We're not yet there yet, and we are not there yet, and moreover, the infrastructure to support that is also in place.
So what are the physical things you would like to see that will suggest to you, of course, that the country is actually on the path to recovery?
Well, we want to see an improvement in infrastructure, that's one. But that is just not all there is. It's, economic growth is not just about the physical things, the tangible elements. There are so many intangible components, like institutions. Part of the problem we have today is that we are facing a crisis of institutions. You call it institutional failure. Do we have the capacity to execute? Do we have the capacity to do? Okay, do we have the synergies, the coordination that are necessary to ensure that things get done the way they should? I don't think that is the case. So first of all, we need to build the institutions, we need to have infrastructure. And when I mean institution, I'm not talking about physical establishment. I'm talking about the way we think. I'm talking about the way we behave. I'm talking about the way we act. The norms that guide our society. Douglas North, leading development economist, refers to that as the rules of the game. I think that has to change. If that doesn't happen, it doesn't really matter how much money you put into the system. It doesn't matter how many roads you build. You can build a road and then people can misuse it because of the way they think, because of their attitude towards the management and maintenance of these resources.
I'll take that as your final parting thoughts on this very troubling road to recovery for the Nigerian economy. I want to thank you so much indeed. Dr. Bonga Adi is the Director, Center for Infrastructure, Policy Regulation and Advancement of the LBS. Thank you so much indeed for your time and your thoughts. Well, still ahead on the news at 10 is Business News, and we've been joined by Melinda Kinlami to take us through.
You first. First Bank.
Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's telecommunications sector contributed 7.7% growth to the gross domestic product in the third quarter of 2015, and that's stronger than the growth posted by the entire economy. However, the sector growth was lower than the 9.57% recorded in the second quarter of the year, and that's according to a new report released by the National Bureau of Statistics. The NBS data shows GSM subscription at 148.4 million of the sector total. Internet subscription is 65.39%, and leading that market segment is Etisalat, accounting for 13.26%. Up next is Airtel with 2.24%, Globalcom with 2.73%, while MTN still needs to play catch-up with the slowest growth of 0.66%. A recent survey by the Central Bank of Nigeria reveals that few Nigerians in diaspora registered for the new biometric program of identification for bank account owners. The financial regulator says the survey shows poor registration because many people could not get to the existing registration centers and the lack of centers in cities where the Nigerian population is high. The deadline for the BVN registration, earlier set for January the 31st, has been revised upwards to the end of June the 30th. And short-term investor profit-taking activities were sustained in the market today, but mixed sentiment lowered the indicators further. Here's Bolaji Akinwale with more details.
Welcome to the Stock Market Report. The equities market slipped once again after big cap stocks recorded some load shedding. The key index dropped by 0.38% to close at 23,517.19. On the gainers table, 40 oil went up, closing at 310 naira. It was followed by Guinness with 122 naira 34 kobo and international breweries with 19 naira 55 kobo. On the decliners table, investors gave a cold shoulder to Nestle, which closed at 703 naira, while 7-Up and Dangote Cement closed at 177 naira 61 kobo and 124 naira 30 kobo. On the top trace chart, Wema Bank recorded the highest volume of shares at 2.4 billion units. It was followed by FBN Holdings and FCMB. In all, a total of 2.6 billion shares valued at 3.7 billion naira were traded by investors. That is on the Stock Market Report. I am Bolaji Akinwale.
Many thanks, Bolaji. Well, that mixed sentiments were also seen in equities across the globe. Let's quickly take a look at those numbers. Thank you so much for watching. That's Business News. The rest of the news at 10 continues in a moment.
You first. First Bank.
Sterling Bank has held a press conference in Lagos to announce the beginning of its Meet the Executive business plan competition. Meet the Executive, a media-led initiative, is part of Sterling Bank's efforts to encourage entrepreneurship and job creation. Our correspondent, Mary Alale Yusuf, reports.
Every year, higher institutions churn out hundreds of graduates into the job market. Sterling Bank's Meet the Executive program, now in its second drive, was designed to reduce the number of these graduates without jobs by turning them into employers of labor through mentorship.
Our approach was, let us work with these young people and guide them so that when they start their business, they have a higher chance of success. But we'll go beyond that. We also say that those that have genuinely come up with very, very innovative and creative ideas that is worthy of support, we also give them grants so that they also escape the original battle of trying to raise capital.
For every plan, there's a process. And Feyikemi Odunuga, Sterling Bank's independent consultant in this venture, is in charge.
They're going to be trained in business plan writing, which is essential to any business owner. Then they will now be trained, the second day, they'll be trained on how to manage successful businesses. Sterling Bank has decided to give 5 young Nigerians the opportunity to grow their businesses by giving them grants.
Michael Onobote, one of the beneficiaries of the first season, now runs an online platform for teaching vocational skills.
The 2-day training was quite intensive and it was a very good springboard for launching our idea, and I would say that was one of the very key things that's brought us so far today.
Sterling Bank is shopping for more thinkers.
Something different from the norm. Like I said, if you are into cash fish farming, you can do much more than just put the fish and grow it and sell it. There are a lot of things you can do. You can fillet the fish, for instance. I don't think there's anybody who does that. You can also grow more than catfish.
The bank is currently calling for entries, and interested participants may submit their business ideas and plans on the bank's website until the 10th of February.
And still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's Super Eagles global ranking improves to 63rd position amongst football playing nations. That's the sports news. Stay with us.